Hip opening is something that a lot of your students really love, and you probably teach it a lot in your classes. This is one example, a bound angle. And we're going to look at this today from lying down on the back. And I'm going to show you what you can do in your classes when you teach this pose that is more about nourishing the hip joints as opposed to forcing them into flexibility. Now, often when you get your students to come into something like a reclined bound angle, we're bringing the hands into play, and we're using the hands to pull and force and shove the body into a position. So when we do this, we actually create joint instability because we're using external sources and extremities to push the body into a position. I would not be able to achieve that position on my own had I not used my hands. So what we're going to do is work on the mobility and the stability of the joint instead of forced flexibility. So you want to make sure that you use a block. Now, you're going to get your students to place the block in between the feet, and they might need a little bit of a prop, either their hands or another block underneath their hips if they feel that that's helpful. So you're going to get them to place the block in between the feet, having a little bit more slack on the top half of the block here. So rather than the block being like this, you want to have it up here like this, and you're going to get them to press. Now, as they come into this position, they'll know, oh, I need something underneath my bum, hands, or a prop, okay? So you want to get them to squeeze, and this is going to represent a neutral hip alignment. Then we're going to get them to go into the reclined bound angle and externally rotate. So you're going to get them to start to wrap the thighs open, hug the soles of the feet onto the block, bend the knees out to the sides, and they only go as far as they can continue to squeeze and hold onto that block. Then they go back again to that neutral hip placement. And right here, my legs aren't straight. They don't need to be straight. It's really a preferential thing, but that's not the point. Squeeze against the block and then rotate. Soles of the feet onto the block, knees open up. And again, legs reach up. So moving through a few rounds of these is going to be really helpful for your students to establish a much more stable hip joint as opposed to just taking the hands and shoving and forcing the body into a position here. Again, when I pull, this is where I can get. When I let go, that's where I am. This is what my body is able to do from a supported position. When I pull and shove, that is not supportive, and my joints are not getting the proper structure and stability via the muscles to be in that place. So this is far better. You don't have to use the block, but it is a super effective tool because your students have to hold on to it. And when they have to hold on to it between the feet, as I showed earlier, they have to engage the necessary muscles that will reach the block up, and then that will externally rotate the thighs. This is much more about mobility, longevity in the joints and the practice of yoga, and really helping your students access the practice in a much more respectful, loving, and nourishing way for their bodies. If you really like this video, please let me know in the comments, and make sure that you subscribe to my channel for more yoga teaching tips just like this.